fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The air crackled with ozone, stinging my nostrils. "Mom, you can't be serious," I screamed, my voice cracking. Years of painstakingly collected data, of late nights fueled by lukewarm coffee and the fervent hope that this culture, this mutation, would hold the key, and she was just tossing it into the biohazard bin. "It's cluttering the energy, Ilias," she said, her voice serene, infuriatingly calm. She held a large, shimmering chunk of obsidian to her chest. The crystals need space to breathe, to resonate. My hands clenched into fists, nails biting into my palms. "That's my life's work, Mom. People are dying from this plague, you know this." She waved a dismissive hand, the obsidian catching the harsh fluorescent light of my makeshift lab. "The universe provides, Ilias. Your science is limited. These crystals hold the answer if you just open yourself to the energy." I wanted to scream, to tear down the tapestries of vaguely Eastern-inspired patterns that now adorn the walls, to smash the wind chimes that tinkled incessantly with every breeze. But I couldn't, not really. She was still my mother, even if this new age awakening had turned her into a stranger. "Mom, please," I pleaded, trying to keep the desperation from my voice. "Just give me a week. Just let me run one more test. I'm close. I can feel it." Her blue eyes, once so warm and full of pride, stared back at me, distant and glassy. "The crystals speak of a different path, Ilias, a path of acceptance, of balance." Acceptance, balance, people were dying. My father, 3 years ago, had succumbed to the very illness I was now desperately trying to combat, and she wanted me to accept it. I turned away, the sight of her purging my research too much to bear. My lab, once a sanctuary of logic and meticulous experimentation, had become a casualty of her spiritual quest. She had started small, with essential oils and chakra balancing. Then came the tarot cards, the past life regressions, and finally the crystals. An obsession that had steadily consumed her, leaving little room for anything else, especially not the grief that haunted her after losing my father. I slumped into my worn-out lab chair, running a hand through my already disheveled hair. What was I going to do? All my research gone. My funding cut off months ago when I refused to participate in her crystal healing workshops. A soft knock at the door startled me. It was Clara, my research assistant, and if I was being honest with myself, the only thing keeping me sane. "Ilias," she said, her voice hesitant. I heard your mother was reorganizing." I managed a weak smile. Reorganizing is one word for it. Exercising my scientific demons is another. Clara stepped inside, her brow furrowed with concern. She was a whirlwind of organized chaos, her short, cropped hair always a little bit askew, her glasses perpetually sliding down her nose. But beneath the surface was a brilliant mind and a fierce loyalty that I cherished. "Don't worry," she said, her voice firm. "I backed up most of your data. I had a feeling something like this might happen." Relief washed over me, so potent it almost brought me to my knees. "You're a lifesaver, Clara, a literal lifesaver." "Don't thank me yet," she said, pulling out a small, battered laptop from her backpack. "I was only able to salvage the genomic sequencing. All your notes, your observations, they're gone." It was a blow, but not a fatal one. I could rebuild, I had to. "Okay," I said, steeling myself. "Okay, let's see what we can salvage. We'll start from scratch if we have to." We worked late into the night, poring over the salvaged data, trying to piece together the fragments of my lost research. Clara was a genius at pattern recognition, able to spot anomalies and potential leads that I had overlooked. She was a constant, grounding force, her unwavering belief in my abilities a stark contrast to my mother's increasingly erratic behavior. As the hours ticked by, I found myself drawn to Clara not just as a colleague, but as a person. Her sharp wit, her unwavering dedication, the way her brow furrowed in concentration as she tackled a particularly complex problem, I found it all incredibly attractive. I'd always seen her as a friend, a confidant, but now, under the harsh glare of the lab lights, I saw her in a new light. "You know," I said, breaking the silence, "I don't know what I'd do without you, Clara." She looked up, her cheeks flushed. "You'd figure it out, you always do." "Maybe," I said, "but it wouldn't be nearly as fun." A small smile played on her lips. "Fun? We're talking about a deadly plague, Ilias." "Even deadly plagues can have their moments," I said, my gaze lingering on hers. The moment hung in the air, charged with an unspoken energy. It was broken by the shrill chime of my mother's wind chimes, a jarring reminder of the chaos that had consumed our lives. "Right," Clara said, clearing her throat, back to work. We continued to work, the air thick with unspoken tension. As the first rays of dawn crept through the window, we made a breakthrough, a small, almost imperceptible anomaly in the genomic sequence of a particularly resistant strain of the plague. "Look at this," Clara said, pointing to a cluster of amino acids. It's almost like it's blocking the virus from replicating, but it's not a protein, it's something else." I stared at the data, my mind racing. What if it's not a natural mutation? What if it's something else influencing the virus? My eyes fell on my mother's obsidian crystal, lying on the table where she had carelessly discarded it. A chill ran down my spine. Could it be possible? Could her crystals, could they actually be doing something? "Elias," Clara prompted, concern etched in her features. "You're pale." I shook my head, trying to dismiss the thought as absurd, but the data was right there, staring me in the face. "Clara," I said, my voice barely a whisper, I think my mother's crystals might be affecting the virus." She stared at me, her expression a mixture of disbelief and cautious hope. "That's impossible, right?" "I don't know," I admitted, "but we have to find out." That was when my mother appeared in the doorway, her eyes gleaming with an almost fanatical light. "The universe is calling, Ilias," she said, her voice low and hypnotic. "It is time, the Obsidian has chosen." She extended her hand, revealing not just the obsidian crystal, but a small, intricately carved wooden box. "What's that?" I asked, my voice trembling. "A gift," she said, her smile widening. "A gift from the Obsidian, a cure." I didn't trust her, not for a second. This felt wrong, deeply wrong. "Mom," I said, my voice firm despite my fear, "what's really going on?" Her eyes flickered, and for a moment I saw a glimpse of the woman I knew, the woman who loved me. But then the light returned, brighter and more intense than before. "The Obsidian knows," she whispered. "It knows the truth, and it will guide us all." She held out the box. Hesitantly, I reached for it. As my fingers brushed against the smooth, cool wood, a jolt of energy surged through me, so intense I nearly collapsed. The world shimmered, the lab dissolving into a kaleidoscope of colors. And then I saw it, a vision clear and undeniable. My mother standing in a circle of obsidian crystals, chanting in a language I didn't understand, and at the center of the circle, a dark, pulsating energy emanating from the very box she held. It wasn't a cure, it was a weapon. I ripped my hand away, recoiling in horror. "You're trying to weaponize the plague," I shouted. Her eyes widened, not with surprise, but with something akin to triumph. "You see it now, Ilias," she said, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "The Obsidian has chosen you to be its champion, to cleanse the world." She lunged at me, the box clutched in her hand. Clara screamed, trying to intervene, but it was too late. My mother's fingers brushed against my skin, and a searing pain shot through me, followed by an icy numbness that spread through my veins. I staggered backward, gasping for air. The lab swam before my eyes. I could feel the plague, dormant within me for years, reactivating, mutating, being amplified by the dark energy emanating from the box. I was infected, but not just with the plague, with something more, something ancient and malevolent, something magical. And my mother, consumed by her obsession, had just unleashed it upon me. The last thing I saw before I blacked out was Clara's terrified face, her eyes filled with a mixture of horror and determination. Then darkness, and the chilling certainty that everything was about to change.